Have you ever faced a tough challenge, maybe at work, in the gym, or learning a new skill, and a voice in your head whispered, "I'm just not good at this"? Have you ever looked at someone successful and thought, well, they just have a natural talent that I will never have? If you have nodded along to either of these, you have felt the power of a hidden belief system that has a surprising amount of sway over your life. Many people go through life held back by this invisible script. It's like a silent operating system running in the background, telling them what they can and cannot do. It dictates whether they shrink from failure or rise from it. It's a powerful predictor of how we handle challenges, yet most of us aren't even aware it's running. Today, we are going to expose that script. We are going to talk about the fundamental belief that separate those who stagnate from those who achieve things they once thought were impossible. This isn't just about motivation or hustle. It's about rewiring the very foundation of how you see yourself and your own potential. So, what is this powerful invisible force? It all comes down to a concept pioneered by Stanford University psychologist Carol Dweck. Through her decades of research, she identified two core belief systems or mindsets that shapes how we approach life: the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. Think of your potential as a sculpture. Someone with a fixed mindset believes their sculpture was carved at birth, and that's it. Their intelligence, their talent, their personality, these are fixed traits, chiseled in stone. There is a certain amount of smarts, a certain level of athletic ability, and there is not much that they can do to change the final statue. So their goal in life becomes proving they have a masterpiece. They want to look smart and talented at all time, avoiding any situation that might reveal a crack in the stone. Now imagine someone with a growth mindset. They believe they start with a lump of clay. Their basic qualities, their intelligence and talents can be molded and developed through dedication, effort, and learning. For them, talent is just the starting material. The goal isn't to prove the sculpture is perfect, but to keep shaping it. They don't see their abilities as something to be judged, but as clay to be worked with a potential to be explored. Let's make this crystal clear. The fixed mindset says, I am who I am. My intelligence is a fixed quantity, like a measuring cup. The growth mindset says, I can learn and grow. My intelligence is a muscle that can be developed. The fixed mindset avoids challenges, terrified they will expose a weakness. The growth mindset embraces challenges, seeing them as the gym where strength is built. The fixed mindset gives up easily when faced with obstacles, thinking, see, I just don't have what it takes. The growth mindsets persist through setbacks, thinking, this is tough, but it's making me better. To the fixed mindset, effort is a bad thing. It's like an engine sputtering. If you have to try hard, it must mean that you are not a natural. To the growth mindset, they see effort as the fuel for the engine. It's the path to mastery. The fixed mindset feels threatened by the success of others, seeing it as a spotlight that reveals their own shortcoming. The growth mindset finds lessons and inspiration in others' success, treating it like a map that they can learn from. These two mindsets create entirely different psychological worlds. One leads to a hunger for approval, the other to a hunger for development. And the one you inhabit determines how you respond to everything life throws at you. Now let's pull this from theory into the real world. How do these mindsets actually play out? The difference is staggering and it shows up everywhere. Consider the moment you get feedback or criticism. This is a fork in the road where your mindset sends you down one or two different paths. For someone with a fixed mindset, criticism feels like the judge's gavel coming down. It's a final verdict because they believe their abilities are static. Negative feedback isn't about their performance on one task, it's direct judgment of their core intelligence. Their internal monologue screams, they think I'm stupid. As a result, they get defensive or ignore the feedback they want. These are people that want a trophy, not a map. Now, in contrast to that, with the growth mindset, when someone with a growth mindset gets criticism, they see it as a GPS. It's not a verdict on their worth, it's a helpful recalculation, showing them a better route. They actively seek out constructive feedback because they know it's the fastest way to learn. Their internal monologue is different. Okay, that's a useful point. What can I do differently next time? They see it as a guide, not a judgment. Let's take another universal experience, failure. The fixed mindset treats failure as a brick of wall. It's the end of the road, proving their lack of ability. After a setback, they feel shame and embarrassment, thinking, I failed, so I am a failure. The mistake becomes their identity. This leads them to give up or avoid the road altogether in the future. The growth mindset, sees failure as a speed bump. It might jolt them, but it doesn't stop them. They see it not as permanent label, but as a temporary event and a powerful learning opportunity. Their mindset allows them to separate their identity from the outcome. The thought isn't, I am a failure in this case, but this approach didn't work. Let me slow down, learn from this, and find a better way forward. Finally, let's look at how mindset affects our view of effort. The fixed mindset secretly believes that effort is for the untalented. Their logic goes, a true genius glides. They don't have to pedal. So when things get difficult, it triggers their deepest fear that they aren't as smart as they want to be. The struggle itself feels like a sign of inadequacy. The growth mindset, on the other hand, understands that effort is what activates ability. It's the pedaling that moves the boat. They know that even the most accomplished people in any field puts in countless of hours of practice. For them, putting in the effort isn't a sign of weakness, it's a badge of honor. It's the work of getting better. Your mindset is the operating system running in the background of your life, dictating how you interpret challenges, process, and feedback, and ultimately, what you can achieve. It's tempting to think of this as simple feel good concept. But there is a fascinating biological reason why a growth mindset is so powerful: neuroplasticity. For centuries, people thought the adult brain was a finished product. But modern neuroscience shows that that's not true. Our brains are remarkably like clay and can be reshaped throughout our lives. Every time you learn something new or practice a skill, you are physically rewiring your brain. The neural connections for that activity get stronger, like forging a path in a dense forest. The more you walk it, the clearer and easier it gets to travel. This is the biological reality behind the growth mindset. Your efforts are actively changing your brain's structure. Research has even looked at how the brain responds to mistakes. Using methods that measures the brain electrical activity, scientists have observed what happens the moment someone makes an error. Some studies suggest that people with a growth mindset shows a different pattern of brain response, indicating a deeper level of processing and attention to what went wrong. It suggests that growth mindset might prime the brain to learn more effectively from slip-ups. However, we have to approach these findings with a healthy dose of realism. The concept of growth mindset is powerful, but it's not a magic wand. First, let's be clear about the scale of the effect. Large-scale metadata analysis have found that while having a growth mindset is associated with better academic achievement, the overall effect is often small. Some analysis suggest a person's mindset may only explain a small fracture of the idea. So the idea of just adopting this mindset will lead to a massive universal gain is an oversimplification, if you may say. The benefits are often modest and vary from person to person. Furthermore, the relationship between mindset and traits like perseverance is very complex. While it feels intuitive that a growth mindset would make someone more persistent, some large studies have found weak or no direct evidence for it at all. In one surprising finding, some students with a fixed mindset actually bounced back better after a specific failure. This doesn't invalidate the concept, but it shows that human psychology is incredibly complex. Finally, Carol Dweck herself has cautioned against a false growth mindset. This is the misunderstanding that a growth mindset is only about praising effort. Praising effort that leads nowhere isn't the goal. If someone is digging a hole with a spoon, simply saying great effort is misleading. A true growth mindset involves valuing the process, which includes trying new strategies, like finding a shovel, seeking help, and learning from mistakes. It doesn't mean that the effort on its own is all, but we need to realize that it's about effective effort, not just effort for its own sake. So the takeaway is this: a growth mindset is a powerful lens for viewing your potential, grounded in the real science of neuroplasticity. But it's a tool, not a guarantee. It works best when combined with effective strategies, good habits, and a realistic understanding of its limits. Now let's look at the dangers of the fixed mindset. Living in a fixed mindset isn't just about missing out on growth. It's about actively trapping yourself in a cycle of avoidance, fear, and stagnation. Recognizing these traps is the first step to disarming them. The first and most common trap is the tyranny of "I'm just not good at this." This phrase is like drawing a small circle on the ground, declaring it's your entire world or your entire universe, and you're refusing to step out. It sounds like a fact, but it's really a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you label yourself this way, you shut down the possibility of improvement before you even start. The second trap is the relentless quest for approval over learning. In a fixed mindset, your self-worth is tied to looking smart. This creates a desperate need for validation. It's like being an actor who cares more about the applause than about improving their craft. You start choosing roles. When you start choosing roles in a fixed mindset, you start choosing roles that are easy for you, that you can succeed with, and are easy roles where you know that you will succeed. Now, rather than challenging yourself, someone with a fixed mindset will stay in comfortability. You avoid asking a dumb question, even if you are confused, because the performance is more important than learning. The third and perhaps most damaging trap of all is trying your self-worth or tying your self-worth to your results. When you believe your abilities are fixed even after a failure, it's gonna bring you in a negative spiral. Every task becomes a test of your fundamental value in those cases. A success means I'm worthy, but a failure means I'm worthless. This is like walking a tightrope, if you say, with no safety net. It's an incredibly fragile way to live, creating huge anxiety and making it difficult to take the necessary risk for growth. These traps create a vicious cycle. The fear of failure leads to avoiding challenges. By avoiding challenges, you never gain the skill to improve. This lack of improvement then reinforces your original belief that you are just not good at it, and the cycle continues. Breaking free means learning to recognize the voice of the fixed mindset and understanding that it's not telling you the truth. Now, how to build a growth mindset and some actionable blueprint for it. Understanding the difference between the mindset is step one. But the real transformation happens when you start to identify and cultivate a growth mindset. This isn't about flipping a switch, it's about building new habits. Here are some practical points, a blueprint, if you may say, to get you started. First, you have to recognize fixed mindset. Recognize that voice. Think of your mind as a garden. This voice is a weed. It often speaks in absolutes. I will never be able to do that. I always mess up like this. Start by simply noticing when this weed appears. Don't fight it, just acknowledge it. This awareness is the first step to tending your mental garden. Once you recognize that voice, reframe your thoughts with the power of yet. This is one of the simplest, most powerful, and profound tools. The word yet. It transformed a brick wall into a hurdle. Instead of I can't do this, you say I cannot do this yet. Instead of I don't understand, you say I don't understand yet. This small addition creates room for growth and signals to the brain that you are on the path of overcoming the struggle. Thirdly, intentionally embrace challenges. A growth mindset isn't built in your comfort zone. It's built in the gym. Actively seek out things that are difficult for you. Like a weightlifter choosing a weight that is challenging but manageable. If you are scared of public speaking, don't sign up for a keynote, but start by lifting a lighter weight, speaking for 1 minute in a low stakes team meeting, for example. The goal isn't to go big, it is to consistently prove to yourself that you can handle a little discomfort, and in that way you will get stronger. Fourthly, actively seek and use meaningful feedback. Don't wait for your annual review. Instead of asking for a review all the way at the end, ask a vague question like, how did I do? Or you can also choose even one better. Ask for a map. For example, what is one thing I can do to make this more effective next time? Or what strategy do you use when you get stuck on a problem like this? When you receive feedback, your only job is to listen for the actionable insight, the next turn on the map, if you would say. Fifthly, celebrate the process, not just the outcome. Our society is obsessed with the finish line. But a growth mindset is built by valuing the race. Instead of only celebrating when you hit a major goal, learn to reward your own consistent effort and smart strategies. Did you spend 30 minutes practicing a new skill? Celebrate that. Did you try a new approach after the first one failed? Acknowledge that. By rewarding the process, you reinforce the very behaviors that lead to long-term success. Finally, normalize and analyze your setback. Everyone makes mistakes. The difference is what you do next. Instead of dwelling on the failure, treat it like a scientist or a game analyst reviewing the tape. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. 1, what worked? 2, what didn't work? 3, what will I try differently next time? This transforms a painful event into a valuable lesson. Building a growth mindset is a marathon, my friend, not a sprint. By consistently implementing these strategies, you can slowly rewire your internal script from one of limitation to one of limitless potential.